The new 3,700 piece LEGO Ideas Dungeons & Dragons set is nothing less than insane. Even if you, like myself, are unfamiliar with the game, I think you'll find that this set has a lot to offer medieval fantasy fans in general. And today I'm going to do my very best to cover everything that's included in this giant package. So hey, let's take a closer look. Thank you to LEGO for sending me this early to review. You're going to be able to pick yours up starting on April 1st. Even though I've never played Dungeons & Dragons myself, I'm always looking forward to a new LEGO castle, and at least in terms of size, this one delivers. That piece count does really rival the other most recent massive castle Lion Knights for the LEGO 90th anniversary. But this one here is a very different beast, as a lot of those parts end up going towards beasts. The set includes all manner of creatures and dangers for the adventurers to overcome. And the quite beautiful instructions do a good job of explaining who's who. For instance, you have the iconic gelatinous cube, an owlbear, a beholder, a displacer beast, two mimics, one in the form of a chest and the other as an entire bed, quite terrifying. And then there's no way you miss this one, a dragon. In the original fan idea submission, the dragon definitely was the centerpiece of the build. And even though the dragon has changed significantly here in the official LEGO model, it still steals the show. Those cloth wings are dyed in one of LEGO's most recent colors, reddish orange, and you also get the pneumatic T-pieces here recolored in reddish orange to hold them in place. The dragon is downright gorgeous. Switching from the green of the fan submission to the red and oranges here really allows it to stand out from the castle and surrounding terrain. The posability for the dragon is okay. You get one click of movement here in the arms. The back legs are attached with ball joints, but there's no articulation beyond that except for in the toes. You get a lot of ball joints in the tail, so you can do a lot with that. And you can flap the wings up and down and also rotate them, which is kind of interesting. One of my favorite things from another recent dragon that I built was the actual ability to fold the wings, as we saw in Gringotts with the Ukrainian Iron Belly. You do not get that here, unfortunately, but I must say the wings look really, really impressive. And this is a much larger dragon than the one included in Gringotts. The head is beautifully sculpted, and you also get two very tiny printed eyes hidden away beneath all the detailing. All of the other creatures here are delightfully detailed. I especially love the beholder. That lavender color scheme is really something great. And one almost bonus creature not even mentioned in the instructions is the fact that you kind of get this ent-like creature that can detach from the rest of the build here. And he's got a printed face towel. How great is that? The other most exciting part about this set, though, is going to be the lineup of minifigures, which kind of blew me away. The instructions, again, do a good job of explaining the lineup of our heroes. Up first, we have the Dwarf Cleric. He's decked out in all brand new prints, even featuring printed medium legs, which we don't see a whole lot of. Doubling up on both a beard and shoulder armor just feels so deluxe, and with printed legs, that's about the best kind of minifigure you can ask for here. But there's actually something more to this guy, and to most of the rest of the minifigures included in this set. There's alternate heads, so you can easily customize your minifigures to be either male or female, and the heads are double-sided, so you get alternate expressions for either gender, which is fantastic. Uniquely in the case of the Dwarf Cleric, you also get an extra hairpiece. We've seen LEGO experiment with this, of course, in the past with things like the Harry Potter trunk set, but to see it actualized here in a set where it makes so much sense is really, really cool. Next up is the Elf Wizard. Again, with this figure, you get another head with an alternate expression. Really, really awesome. This character in particular introduces us to some of the printed elements that we'll see recurring throughout the set, and that's these printed 1x2 spell tiles. There's 4 different spell tiles included in the set, and there's 2 of each, which is really, really nice. And again, they're all printed. There are a few stickers in this set, but again, for a 3,700 piece set, it doesn't feel like a whole lot. The front of that book is one of the stickers. The next figure is the Gnome Fighter. Again, like the other two figures, you're looking at another head swap. No alternate hairpiece for this one, but you do get some different weapons to choose from, including a shorter sword, which is kind of fun too. And yes, that shield is printed. Next up is the Orc Rogue. The Orc Rogue includes one of those soft dark blue capes, which is great. He also gets an alternate weapon. You can use a crossbow instead of the 2 knives. Interestingly, for the Orc Rogue, there are 2 sand blue heads included, but they don't have printing on the backs. I'm assuming that's because you can make the orc go around bald too, another option for customization without a face on the back of their head. One minifigure who doesn't have an alternate head is our Dragon Man here. He doesn't get a little bio in the instructions, unfortunately, but he seems to be a bard of sorts. I especially think that those printed legs are going to be very useful for other custom minifigures. The next minifigure is the set's villain and has perhaps the most options for customization. Again, you can swap the heads to make this a female sorceress, or you can take away the scary expression, the cape, and the wand to create a much chiller looking tavern owner. And then you get 3 skeletons in the set as well, and they are all decked out with different accessories too. My favorite though is the recolored Dreams sword for the one. It looks to be made with pearl silver and gunmetal gray. That's a pretty swanky looking sword. While you might not get as many minifigures as you would in, say, like Lion Knight's Castle, the figures here included are all pretty much done to perfection. I've got no complaints about any of these. And getting all the extra accessories, alternate heads, and hair pieces, that's really cool. And I hope that's something that LEGO will continue to do in future sets too, even sets that aren't this massive. And even after you take away the hundreds of pieces used to make all the creatures and the minifigures, you're left with a really large build. And right off the bat, what I think this set does really well is that it gives you this really exciting, dynamic, and diverse landscape in which to imagine this world of figures. I haven't looked into it myself, but the box does advertise a special exclusive downloadable adventure when you purchase the set. And I imagine that gives you the building blocks to play out quite the story in this world. We have the rather spooky ruins of the castle, the vibrant tavern down below, a forest filled with spiders, this bridge, and on top of all of that, this all seems to be set on an island with water surrounding the base. And of course, once I spin this thing around, you better believe it's got a fully fleshed out interior too. While I was a little disappointed to find that this set really doesn't have much in the way of play features, there's no doubt that it gets the imagination running wild regardless. To help you access some of the interior sections, the build does split into a few sections. And we'll go ahead and take a look at these one by one. First off here is the tavern. From the exterior, you can already tell that there's some really cool building techniques that go into this one. Simple as it is, I was actually really impressed with the chimney and its cobbled stone look. I think that looks great. The angles that you get on the roofs here and this corner section especially, absolutely delightful. The building, of course, too, has full interior. On the bottom floor, you get the actual tavern itself, and there's some glasses, I'm sure, filled with some completely harmless non-alcoholic beverage, a turkey leg fireplace, even more extra weapons, and yet another barrel, again, filled with some sort of non-alcoholic, LEGO-friendly substance. Upstairs, things get a little dicier with not one, but 2 mimics in the room. You get the chest off to the side here, complete with printed eyes, and then I wouldn't hop into this bed either because it's ready to gobble you up. Both can be easily removed, they're just set on a few studs, so if you want to move them elsewhere throughout the build, you easily can do that. The only thing here on the side tower is just a little bag. Though it is quite a lovely structure, there's a few things about it that drive me a little mad. I wish that this roof just overhang just a little bit more. It terminating right here just kind of looks weird to me. And stylistically, all the roof sections are a bit all over the place. The angles are all different. The trim is all different. It doesn't quite feel cohesive to me. Let's head over to the, what I guess I'll call the forest module. This is the largest module, and there's a lot of fun things going on here, like our Ent from earlier. This new pine tree design that LEGO loves so much shows up here and in a few other places throughout the set too. We've got some spiders crawling out of the woods, and one of my favorite details here is this really sketchy staircase that actually leads all the way up into the castle. Perhaps my least favorite thing about the entire set is found here too, and that's this bridge, which just has a weird amount of detailing compared to other parts of the set. So much love and care is poured into this stairway, but this bridge just appears relatively bland beside it, and nowhere is that more apparent than here, which just feels completely unfinished. There's this little leaf that the designer has attempted to cover it with, but it doesn't quite do the trick. You see things like this and you compare it to the rather exquisite detailing going on up here, and it just kind of makes you scratch your head a little bit. I don't know if it's intentional or not, or if it has another Dungeons and Dragons related meaning, but I love that we've got the classic fantasy era castle colors flying here in the breeze. That made me very happy. We've also got some tentacles off to the side, implying yet another creature is just lurking beneath these waters. Spinning the whole build around, you can see part of that interior that I was talking about earlier. So much going on here. It's called Dungeons and Dragons after all. When we saw the dragon, and lo and behold, there's your dungeon. There's a chain attached to the ceiling and a little bucket on the floor. What more do you need? On the bottom floor, that seems to be the dungeon and the layer of the gelatinous cube. There's all sorts of artifacts hidden around. And actually, if you want some better access to some of those on the back wall, you can remove this section from the front, which is kind of nifty. Above that, there's more fun things like these mushroom men with new printed heads for the set. These make use of the rather weird mushroom people bodies introduced with the new dream sets. So you get two of those, which is kind of fun. And then up here, stashed away, is this really, really beautifully printed Beholder shield. Another special little item that I wasn't expecting, but it can be picked up and looted by one of your heroes to take along on the rest of the journey. The dungeons beneath the castle continue with this module. This rests behind the tavern and beneath the main tower of the castle. It's probably the least interesting part of the build, but it quickly builds up some height to make sure that the rest of the build shines. And there's some fun things going on in here too, plus plenty of room to display some of those creatures we looked at earlier. Beneath the staircase is this mysterious gooey looking plant, and you get another one of those spell books hidden in there. You can see here too from the top that they've got these potion bottles hidden all over the place, and they're hidden in all the other modules too, which is pretty fun. Again, this section features another beautifully detailed staircase, and it actually makes use of the spiral staircases introduced back with the original 2001 Harry Potter sets. And I cannot believe that they still use these after all these years, but it works really well here, and the build kind of locks it into place so it doesn't swivel around like crazy like it does in some of the Harry Potter sets behind me. And if you're wondering where this staircase leads, well, that's to the tallest part of the module, this crumbling castle tower. When the build is together, there's quite a few different ways to access this part of the castle, and this has all sorts of interior details too, though I must say in a lot of these floors it's quite difficult to get your hands in there. Unlike the tavern, the tower doesn't split into multiple sections itself, which is kind of unfortunate because it's a really easy thing to add and it would have made getting into some of these beautiful details a lot easier. But anyway, we'll start on the bottom floor where the set's one play feature is. There's this little key that unlocks this trapdoor where you would enter in from the staircase below. That's a nice little feature, and I like that you have to have the key technically to open it up. And again, around the outside, I mean, really cool detail work going on here with the staircase, the plants, all the brickwork happening in the tower. It contrasts so harshly though against those other parts in the set where the detail is just lacking ever so slightly. Up on the second and third floors, you get all sorts of evil wizardy stuff. Candles, crystals, spells, cauldrons, you name it, it's there. And there's definitely something sketchy going on the third floor here. Some sort of crazy dragon is being hatched from that egg or something. If you climb the rickety ladder all the way to the top, which again feels a little bit under detailed, you do find some more of those beautiful fantasy era castle flags though, and I do love to see that. I mean, it's a fun set to build and there is so much stuff hiding around. Ludicrously expensive though the set may be, as far as I'm concerned, you get a lot for your money here. It's gonna be up to you to determine whether or not that's worth it, but I can definitely see even a lot of non-D&D fans picking up this set for the really awesome minifigures, beautiful dragon, and a fun-filled fantasy environment. My biggest problem with this set ends up being that it kind of rides the line between display set and play set and doesn't really commit one way or the other. We get beautiful things like this dragon here, which sacrifices a lot of functionality to look good, and a fantasy world that really doesn't embrace the play features that I thought that it would. But at the same time, it skips out on the detailing in key areas like the bridge here especially, preferring to put that budget into bulking the set up rather than fleshing it out to make it the prettiest thing ever. But hey, I'm really curious to hear what you think of this set, so do let me know. That's all I've got for this time. Have yourself a great life, and I'll see you later.